All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. Today is November 27th, 2023. This is a meeting of the Mayor and Council of Princeton, New Jersey, and we'll start out with our meeting statement. Madam Clerk.
Adequate notice of this meeting was provided in accordance with the requirements of the Open Public Meetings Act, including the time, date, and location of the meeting. In addition, the agenda and all related materials were posted electronically and made available to the public on Princeton's meeting portal in advance of the meeting.
Thank you. Leticia, you do the land acknowledgement.
Yes, please. We gathered today on the land of the Lenni Lenape. As members of the Princeton community, we aspire to show appreciation, respect, and concern for all peoples and our environment. We honor the Lenape and other indigenous caretakers of these lands and waters, the elders who lived here before, the indigenous today, and the generations to come.
Thank you. Could we have roll call, please?
Ms. Perone-Lambros?
Here.
Ms. Niedergang?
Here.
Mr. Cohen?
Here.
Ms. Sachs?
Here.
Ms. Fraga?
Here.
Mr. Newland?
Here.
Mayor Frida?
Here.
You have quorum.
Thank you. If you'd like to stand and join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Michelle, you're going to take the proclamation?
I'd be happy to.
Thank you. Here's a proclamation of the Office of the Mayor, Municipality of Princeton. Proclamation for Women's Space Incorporated 22nd Annual Communities of Light fundraiser. Whereas it is the policy of the Municipality of Princeton to recognize organizations that have contributed to the overall benefit of the community, and whereas Women's Space, founded in 1977, has demonstrated a unique ability to provide comfort, support services, crisis intervention, and safety to women who are victims of sexual assault and domestic violence. And whereas Women's Space, in the belief that peace begins at home, has asked the Mercer County community to join them in their struggle against violence towards women by participating in their annual Communities of Light project. And whereas Women's Space has provided emergency shelter in secure locations and comprehensive services for victims of domestic violence since 1977 and sexual assault since 2002 for more than 120,404 women, 17,024 children, 8,072 men. Additionally, Women's Space has assisted more than 317,089 hotline callers over the last 46 years. And whereas the Municipality of Princeton commends Women's Space for their efforts to bring an end to the cycle of interpersonal violence imposed on women, children, and men. And whereas Mayor of the Municipality of Princeton, as Mayor,
Should be Mayor and
you
Council.
want to finish this part?
Should be Mayor and Council. Sorry.
As Mayor and Council of the Municipality of Princeton, we urge that each and every household demonstrate their support of the concept that peace begins at home by placing luminaries along their driveways and sidewalks on Monday, December 4th, 2023, as a visible symbol of that support. And whereas the proceeds from Communities of Light 2023 will be used to fund vital services for victims of domestic violence, sexual assault, and human trafficking. Now, therefore, I'm going to read for Mark Frida, Mayor of the Municipality of Princeton, County of Mercer, State of New Jersey, do hereby proclaim December 4th, 2023 as Community of Lights Day, and hereby honor Women's Space on its many accomplishments and wish them continued success with Communities of Light in the years to come. Given under my hand and seal this 4th day of December, 2023. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Okay, let's go to council announcements and reports. Council members with either announcements or reports are tonight. Eve.
I have just a few things from the Environmental Commission that I wanted to bring to Mayor and Council's attention. PEC has recommended 3 resolutions for Council to adopt. One is supporting the Green Amendment to the New Jersey State Constitution. A second is supporting continuation of the State of New Jersey's corporate business tax at 2023 rate to fund open space, farmland, historic preservation, and hazardous site cleanup funding. And the third is opposing the expansion of the New Jersey I-95 Turnpike, a multi-billion-dollar project that will have vast environmental impact. PEC has passed all of these as resolutions and would like council to do the same. If nobody objects, I will add them to an upcoming meeting agenda. Probably not as part of the consent agenda, because I think they deserve the time for a vote and approval. So any concerns with any of those? They were sent to everybody, so if anyone does have concerns, you want to raise them with me, otherwise I'm moving ahead. That's it, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Eve. Other council announcements or reports? Any staff reports or announcements at the moment? No. Okay. Next up would be Experience Princeton. Isaac.
Most of what I said, except to say it's good to be here, and here's my update. In the last 30 days, Experience Princeton launched a digital gift card with 56 businesses now participating. We've already sold $7,530 of gift cards and hope to expand that significantly in the weeks ahead. And they really do cut across all the different business sectors that we have here, so we're really happy by the response. Secondly, we attended the master plan hearing and provided testimony to that and appreciated the opportunity. Third, we completed the Nassau Street tree well beautification. And just remind people, the flowers will bloom in the spring. It's not spring now, but they will bloom. And we've also put up the holiday decorations on the light poles, especially along Witherspoon Street, and holiday banners throughout town that tie in with our marketing, including around the gift card. So what are we working on the next 30 days? Our economic development team is continuing to work on expanding allowable uses, and we're also discussing business recruitment at our next team meeting. Our streetscapes team is working on a banner program that will be updated seasonally, so we'll always have something nice to see in town. We're scheduling a board training for the week of March 11th. Really important to keep on things like that. And we have meetups planned for January 25th at Jasna Polana and February 29th at Art on Hullfish. And not to mention our meetup this Thursday, which is going to be at the McCarters Theater Center at 4 o'clock. And we're going to have an open house format from 4 to 7. It will also be our holiday celebration. So we encourage people to drop in, even if for a few minutes. And you can register at experienceprinceton.org in the events page where there's a register link. One last item to let you all know about is we've made contact with the New Jersey Business Action Center, and they have a program to assist special improvement districts like Experience Princeton. So we're already getting assistance from them navigating resources. We're working with their Office of Business Advocacy and hope to bring one of their leaders to an upcoming business or stakeholder meeting that we hold. And last but not least, the state plan revision is having its rollout in January 2024, and there will be many opportunities to participate in that. So we'll work on our part with the businesses and other stakeholders, but we'd encourage others to keep an eye on it. It's a very important document that will have an impact on us here. With that, that's my report.
Isaac, thank you. Any questions for Isaac? Thanks for keeping us updated.
Thanks, Isaac.
Great.
Okay, just nobody else on any other announcements or reports, just making sure. Okay, great. Let's go to public comments for items not on the agenda. Again, these are for items that aren't on the agenda. And once you get up, if you just say who you are or who you're representing, and a timer's going to go on, and you have about 3 minutes to say whatever.
Good evening, Town Council. Our names are Cozy Sierra from Tupelo Road,
And Ava Salinas from Lawrenceville Road.
and we are members of the Princeton Girl Scout Troop 71829. Our troop members are 5th grade girls from 5 different Princeton schools, and we share a love for our community.
For our troop's Bronze Award, we would like to improve the walking paths at Community Park South by painting multiple sidewalk murals. These paintings would be positive affirmations to encourage runners and walkers to keep going and reach their goals. We hope to make the park a happy place that promotes fitness and a sense of belonging. Some examples of these affirmations might be never give up, you're amazing, and you can reach your goals. We need your help to make our dreams a reality.
We need your support and permission to be able to have a permanent sidewalk mural installed at Community Park South. Tonight, we have heard the work you are doing on the redevelopment plan for this park, and we would like to become a part of it. This is a popular gathering space in the central part of our community, where members of our troop love to visit. By helping us create these murals, you can be sure kids are helping shape the future of our Princeton community.
We would like to propose that the mural consists of 4 panels, 2 on each side of the oval walking paths. We would use environmentally safe paint used by professionals. We welcome your feedback on our mural designs and are seeking your approval to move forward. Thank you for your time and consideration this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you. Can I comment on that? Thank you to both of you. You've hit 2 of my favorite topics in one proposal, and that is upgrading and redeveloping Community Park South and public art. So I would love to talk further with you. I love the idea. I think we all do, and really appreciate it. And you're in the right company tonight. So thank you so much for your concept.
Thank you. Thanks, Michelle. Okay, so Michelle will follow up with you guys. I think we have your contact info on the sheet, right? Okay. All right, so who's next on that sheet?
They signed up 2 spaces.
Okay, that's okay.
Chip Kreider, 22 Bank Street. Brief comment about the master plan update process. I must say, in decades of going to municipal meetings and participating, this has sort of been the most undemocratic thing I've seen. I talked to a lot of people. A lot of people are upset about the process. They're upset about the result. And just a couple things. Okay, you've got to do the low-income housing. And the generic solution is we have 85% market rate units and 15% affordable. Well, it is possible to get 100% affordable built. The chairperson said, oh, that would be very expensive. Well, it's been done in about 5 adjacent towns. Nobody seems to be interested in looking into it. Another thing that should have been discussed, the short-term rentals, they're taking middle and lower priced units off the market almost as fast as you're putting them on. So these 85% market rate units, they add families, they add school taxes, and you pay that price forever. The solutions I'm talking about, it's nonprofit, and they keep the rents low. And the final question is, and I'm concerned about the service zone, but they didn't even discuss that. The final question is, what is the point of having public hearings about the master plan update if right from the get-go We are told, we're not going to make any changes except for certain groups that we consulted with and correct some errors, but we're not going to make any changes based upon the public comment. What's the public comment for? Thank you.
Thanks, Chip. Okay. Did you want to? Sure.
Yeah, Chip, I just want to make sure that you're aware that the master plan is a planning board document, and council doesn't get to vote on it. They didn't get to run the process. You can blame me and Mia because we serve on both, but the rest of these folks are innocent.
This time.
I'll let David speak for himself.
Yeah, Chip, it really is a planning board process. But I will say, there were a number of listening sessions where the entire community was invited. Many people did participate.
I did, all of them.
Okay, well, then you know that there were many options for public input. But again, there is another session, another hearing on the 30th, so that discussion with the public will be continued. But anyway, thank you. Is there anyone else here in the room that's here for public comment for items not on the agenda? All right, anybody out in the Zoom world that's here for comments not on the agenda?
Okay.
All right, seeing none, I'm going to close the public comment section of the agenda. And we're going to move on to our work session on Community Park South concept design. And I think Michelle's going to kick us off.
Thank you. This has been a really great input process. We have had dozens of meetings. So there's been a steering committee that, first of all, I'd like to thank the steering committee and mention that from the Recreation Committee, Mia Cahill, Dick Nosker, and Andrew Kuntz all participated in many meetings, much appreciated. We had representatives from the Environmental Commission, from the neighborhood, Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood, from the school district. We had many stakeholders in the steering committee. The steering committee, along with the consultants went out and met with stakeholders. There were many stakeholder meetings in different sports groups and other groups. So the culmination was a couple of different community meetings that we had, and we went through from 7 concepts down to 2 and finally 1, and we'll present that this evening. But I'd just like to thank the Recreation Commission and Evan Moorhead, thank you, from the Recreation Department. So I think that the teams have been really good at looking at making compromises, looking at all the various stakeholders and what everyone wants. So in the end, I suppose compromise is always nobody gets everything that they want, but everybody gets something. So, so we're going to look at that. And what we want to do tonight really is get from council your feedback on the concept that the Recreation Commission has voted on and is recommending. And then what we would do next is take that concept plan, go to engineer drawings, and start to really work on the budget. And in the meantime, taking the estimated budget and seeing where we can raise money. So this is not something that we want to just put a taxpayer burden on, but we're looking at state, federal, county funding. There's infrastructure funding out there. There's grants. There's varying grants. So there's a lot of work that needs to take place before we come back with engineer drawings and a more solid budget. But we can't do anything until we have a concept. So this evening we're going to present the concept. So Evan and Andrew, please take it away. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilwoman Perrone-Lambros. I just have a few things to add. Before that, I just want to recognize the young ladies who are here. And I didn't put them up to that, but it's a very opportune time for them to be here. And I certainly hope that we can connect with you both at the right time and engage you. It seems like you have a lot of passion and interest, and I'm sure some artistic ability as well. So thank you for being here, and thank you for your comments. I just want to preface all this by saying that this is a fantastic and exciting opportunity to, from the staff perspective, to rehabilitate Community Park South, which, as you all know, is located on the edge of the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood, which is our most densely populated, our most diverse neighborhood in Princeton. And this is a park that hasn't been, for the most part, upgraded since it was built in the 1960s, and so it's really in great need, and it should be the crown jewel of our Princeton Park system, and I hope that one day it will be as a result of this ongoing process. As was mentioned previously, we did have quite a few, there was a lot of meetings and input that went into this process. We ended up with almost double the amount of steering committee meetings that we had initially planned for. We also had multiple surveys where we garnered input and feedback from hundreds of residents and park users. All of that feedback and input, as well as meetings with 17 different stakeholder groups, was put into the pot and used as part of this process to come up with the concept that you're going to see here in just a little bit. And so that was the goal of this phase of the project, which was to gather as much feedback and input from the park users, from residents, the public, community stakeholders, in order to put together what we felt could be the best possible concept and to incorporate as much of that input and as much as we could for everybody to get a piece of what they wanted to see out of Community Park South. And I think that's what you'll see here tonight, that I think there is something for everyone in this particular concept design, maybe not exactly the way everybody wanted it, but I think to focus on for this phase of the concept is what the amenities and the facilities that are included in the park and where they are located. And that was our goal to achieve, come out with a viable concept that showed those things. As Ms. Perone-Lambros said earlier, we will, as we go through this process and hopefully continue, we can hone in with much greater specificity on certain details as far as specific amenities and materials and surfacing, and certainly cost analysis and phasing of the project. But as far as tonight goes, we're here with a concept plan. I wanted to introduce the chair of the Princeton Board of Parks and Recreation Commissioners. Andrew Kuntz is here to also to make a statement. So Andrew, are you? All right.
I'll stand back there. Okay. Mayor and Council, good to see you all. I hope you all had a wonderful Thanksgiving. I want to second what Evan said in terms of the presentation that we heard from the young ladies. We're really excited to hear from them, and I've already invited them to our next meeting. So we'll be able to connect with you and work with you on moving forward. This has been actually for me a very exciting process. The public input has been fantastic. People truly love this park. And it's just been very exciting to work with everyone in order to try to move this process forward. I just want to thank the public for their input, and I want to thank all the stakeholder groups that for all of their input. The steering committee, the work on that. I know we had a lot of meetings, Michelle, but it was fantastic. We got some great work done. I want to thank our liaison, Michelle, a lot for making that process work as well as it did. My own Recreation Commission members that were on the steering committee, Mia Cahill, who is here, and Dick Nosker, we all worked very hard. And all of the members of the Rec Commission and Evan and his staff at the Rec Department, they were invaluable. But I also want to thank you guys, Mayor and Council. Without your support of the contract for suburban engineering, we wouldn't be at this point, which is being able to present to you a concept plan for Community Park South. Now, a concept plan is pretty easy to define. It's what amenities are going to be in the park, where are they going to be. It is not final design, but I think you're going to see the presentation from Mr. Perillo that it is actually, it is on a conceptual level, it is a very, very strong design. The task of the steering committee really was to work with Suburban and Joe and his staff to take all of that public input, and there were heaps of public input, and somehow figure out how we're going to translate that into a design plan that will it ultimately completely satisfy everyone? No, but it does a great job of getting us almost all the way there. And I know that you look very much forward to seeing this concept plan and hearing more about it. Now, the Recreation Commission heard this presentation a few weeks ago, And as the contract with Suburban required, we made a recommendation as to a preferred design. The commission was deeply impressed with Joe Perillo and his firm's ability to skillfully incorporate many elements requested by the public and stakeholders and translate those requests into a really fine park layout that is a winner from both a recreational and an aesthetic perspective. We had only 2 concerns that I transmitted to you, and I'm going to highlight them. One is that hardy perennial, parking demand. The existing parking lot that exists on site right there already is at times of peak demand overburdened. One of the park's designs that we did consider incorporated additional parking into the design. We ultimately did not go in that direction for environmental concerns and also trying to accommodate as many recreational opportunities within the park as we could. But we are recommending this design with a request to Mayor and Council to give a strong consideration to including additional parking for CP South in close proximity to the site. As you future plans, this is what we would like to see. Our second concern was preserving, to the extent possible, open space within the park for unstructured recreation. And for those of you unfamiliar with recreational lingo, I'll define what that means. We're talking about spaces for uncoached sports. We would call them pickup games, right? Multi-purpose fields and the like, where people can just go and have a game and recreate without, without the advice and consent of coaches. I should point out, though, that the design that you're going to see tonight already incorporates some of those, Mr. Perillo's responses to that recommendation for additional open space for unstructured play. Finally, I just want to thank Mr. Perillo and his team for their patience and hard work. I really think that Suburban has developed a special plan for a very special place that is that's very much in the heart of our community. And from there, I'm going to introduce Joe Perillo and Suburban, and take it away, Joe.
I think our folks in the back room need to pull a couple switches and whatever to make that work.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to present the final concept plan selected by the Recreation Commission, the Steering Committee. My name is Joseph Perello. I'm a principal at Suburban Consulting Engineers, landscape architect, professional planner, a sports field designer, and a proponent of parks and open spaces in New Jersey for 36 years. With me is Chris Kemper, another licensed landscape architect and project manager who worked and managed our team of landscape architects, park planners, engineers, environmentalists, GIS consultants, and other licensed professionals who had input on this concept plan. Again, my hat's off to your Recreation Commission members, all of the steering committee members, all of the members of the 17 stakeholder groups, over 400 individuals and residents of Princeton who responded to the surveys, and all of the people who attended the 2 public meetings that we had here in this room, and many of you attended those meetings as well. So getting down to the concept plan, although we've done 7 or 8 of them altogether, and make compromises amongst those to really listen to the public, hear what their requests were for the improvements of where they could be located in the park. And there's something for everyone in this park facility, from tots to school-age children to seniors, all age groups, active and passive recreation. And really, my hat's off to the steering committee and the Recreation Commission and the Recreation Department staff in every step of the way to make sure every concept that we did, those goals, as well as the environmental sustainability and sensitivity for the future of Community Park South, were always at the top of the list as priorities, as well as meeting all the needs of the community for this project. So with that, I'd like to walk you through Community Park South, the final concept plan that was selected and voted on by the Recreation Commission. So we'll start off down, and everybody has a copy on your packet and on your screen. There's a board over there to my left, your right, that has a layout of it, and it's also on the screen on the top here for the benefit of the audience. So starting out on the bottom area of the large existing parking lot, where a lot of people enter and exit the site, we propose to improve the parking lot, keeping it where it's at. There would be new improvements to pavement, striping, accessibility, handicap parking, etc. There would be improved access into the park. So throughout the park, you see this ivory-colored line. That's your multi-use pathway that you will prepare murals on and use your artistic talents to not only educate and involve the community, but to get your message across in the future community park. The layout is not too different from what's there, but the purpose of the new pathway would be slightly wider, improved, and a better, typically an asphalt surface, which can be easily maintained, as well as be utilized by police and security vehicles if they have to do a lap around the park in the evenings or during the day, and also for maintenance equipment and by Public Works and the facilities departments in Princeton. So if we enter the site from the existing sidewalk closest to the school, which is located to the east, there will also be a new entrance and accessible access ramp, AD accessible access ramp, and stairs down the center of the parking lot, as well as improvements to the other existing walkway that connects into the park, and a new improved path which extends to the western portion, all from that central gathering space of the existing parking lot. Gathering in the center and traveling in a northern direction, we, after many concepts and reviews, it was most advantageous to utilize this layout and maintain the location. In this concept plan, there are 12 newly constructed tennis courts, not just recoding them or color coding, but totally newly constructed tennis courts with new surfacing, new fencing, everything on those facilities, and also a new buffer surrounded by the courts, and incorporate them into the rest of the park through the existing and proposed newly improved pathways. Located just north of the 12 proposed tennis courts is a practice wall, which is used for handball, tennis, or any other handball sport, or people to exercise and play on their own if they're not there for use of a full-size tennis court. It's an area for exercise and practice. Moving further along, slightly to the north, there is accommodations that could be made for future connection to the existing parking lot, which is located to the east of Community Park. That's the large existing parking lot located out here beyond this building, which is heavily used, especially during the pool season, but also for events and use that for games that will happen and occur in Community Park South. There is no existing pathway located there now, but there is accommodations for a connection, a future connection, which would access to the east, either through the municipally owned aquatic complex or right on the border between the aquatic complex and the existing school. Again, traveling to the north, we will be relocating and building an entirely new paddle tennis court facility, which is currently located a little bit further to the northeast and adjacent to the parking lot. We wanted to bring that facility into the rest of Community Park and not kind of set off to the side, but to locate it in the center or more useful part for that facility in Community Park South, as well as buffer it and provide landscaping, shaded areas, rain gardens for stormwater management and sustainability. Again, those are located in various locations for sustainability, stormwater management, rain gardens. They're these little symbols, and you can't really see the labels on this plan being projected, but on your screen or on the handouts or hard copies, you can read the labels, and they're located throughout the park because stormwater management is best handled when it's on site and it's in various locations, and we get it to work with the site naturally and get it to work with the soils and the conditions that you have on this facility. So you'll see a lot of green, a lot of trees and landscape here, but they're also amended with additional rain gardens and environmentally sensitive planted areas that help in stormwater management and reduce flooding. Continuing along the pathway, there is a connection to the existing parking lot, which is on the northeast corner of the site, which would connect to an area that is presently occupied with existing mature trees. There are large mature shade trees in this concept plan, some large species that are in good condition. Again, thank you for the Township Forester for his work in reviewing, evaluating, and giving us comments and recommendations on the health and the importance of those trees. So in this concept plan, it was a priority to retain them and to keep them in the layout and to maximize their use as a benefit to Community Park and to all the people that will use this space, both as a buffer, both as an air cleaner to the environment that we have in the municipality, and as a shaded area. And there's an existing picnic grove area now with 3 small structures that would be improved with a new shade structure, picnic area for gathering space, picnic grove along this pathway. And there's a multitude of uses of storage for public works, tractors, snow plows, and other equipment. That equipment and items located there will be removed, and there will be new storage sheds or small buildings that are utilized for storage by the sports and recreation groups that utilize Community Park South as their home for the multitude of sports that are used there for team sports, coaching, equipment, goals, picnic areas, craft events, summer camps, etc. All have little sheds there, which were kind of added over the years, but that would be organized into approximately 2 new structures located in this northeast portion of the park. The pathway continues along the north, moving to the west, where this is kind of like a nice passive zone, but also becomes a nice buffer to the park and outlines and defines the space of what Community Park is. It serves as a buffer to Route 206. It also provides a visual link of green space to Community Park North and the other gardens and spaces that are on the other side of Route 206. But as we continue around this perimeter path, I've been focusing on the outer elements. The inner portion of this site, which exists today, is a large natural grass athletic field. We showed the location of the 2 softball Little League fields. There are currently 3 utilized fields in that location, but we moved them to organized spaces. We moved this one here that's on the more southern end to have the proper orientation for softball and Little League baseball, which is that the batter should be looking east, northeast, or northeast direction, which accommodates that, and that's for the sun angle. So the batter, who typically has the ball coming at them at the fastest speed and the most direction to their body personally and to their head and eyes, so they have the best orientation for this field here. The other field also has fair orientation when the sun is at a higher angle, especially at noon. In the later evenings when the sun is setting to the west-northwest in the summertime, you do get some sun angle, but it's limited because of the retention of the existing mature trees and other trees in this area. And as the sun gets lower on the horizon line, all the other vegetation in Community Park North helps buffer that lower sun angle to the eyes of a right-handed batter, which would be on this softball field. So this space right here now shows 2 locations of softball Little League fields and a multi-use rectangular field in the center, which could be used for multiple sports, including, soccer, football, or not organized football, field hockey, lacrosse, and we met with all the stakeholder sports groups that utilize Community Park South, either as a home or for a practice facility, and also by the school district, who also use these fields extensively. In this layout, and which also exists, there's open space, this light green areas adjacent to the organized darker green striped fields. This is open space. This is where Mr. Coons was describing the areas for pickup games or not unauthorized, but uncoached sports. But it also has the opportunity where the Princeton Football Club, which is soccer in American terms, and soccer and lacrosse utilize these fields with smaller size fields, which would be accommodated in these open space areas as they do now and exist on the site. So all those fields could be accommodated in these spaces, but we choose to show the open space and the openness of this park because those fields do not have structured fencing, backstops, or goals. Continuing back along our tour, along the walkway, the pathway continues along the northern border, which would also be amended with additional landscaping and buffering to keep this a green space and unstructured courts in this general area, which then leads us along the path to the location of 6 proposed pickleball courts. Pickleball courts were one of the items that were, again, highly requested in the surveys and at our public meetings that we held here. And we can accommodate pickleball-only courts where they're not shared with tennis, and they're located in this location, so there's no need to schedule use of tennis or pickleball when tennis courts are being used, as well as the pickleball space having their own facility with sitting areas adjacent to it, maybe a kiosk, a little, over here we have a tennis hut, which exists and would be redeveloped. You know, pickleball groups can also be accommodated with these similar facilities, as well as, you know, if they want gathering spaces, sitting areas. Pickleball is a very social sport where people like to gather, talk, socialize, and not just play the sport. And the game moves along pretty well and pretty quick. So they can have their own home, their own space in this quadrant of the park. Adjacent to that is another picnic area, which would have a sheltered structure and the potential in that structure to have a restroom. Right now, there are no restrooms at Community Park South. That was another need identified in the public surveys and in our public meetings. So this, the one I'm pointing at to the north by the pickleball courts, and the other location of a shaded structure with restrooms, maybe even a potential for a small roll-up window if they had the need for concession area for when there are events in the park, not just for sports, but other community events that could be held there. That's what these rectangular buildings are, larger shade structures for picnic pavilions, gatherings, and the outdoor summer camps and events that the Recreation Department holds in the park. Adjacent to this area, the Recreation Committee, we started calling this the family zone right here because we had a picnic area, we had shade, we have a playground, a new playground in this park. There is not an existing playground in Community Park right now. There is a smaller playground adjacent to the school, but when school is in use and in session and this facility is fenced off, it is not encouraged or used for people that maybe have children that aren't in school age yet or can't get to that playground. We added a playground into Community Park that can be used, and an inclusive playground, I may add, where it's adjacent to other areas in the shaded sitting area, adjacent to game tables, adjacent to sitting picnic spaces, adjacent to other facilities here that could include cornhole is often in this, is showed in this area, or it could be anywhere. We have these courts, right? Oh, bocce courts. We have game table areas, picnic areas, shade, and other areas that serve the community. We also had the need or the request for sand volleyball courts, which are located adjacent to that space, because who doesn't like a nice family picnic or group picnic without volleyball or a place maybe to play cornhole, a place to play bocce, or other like yard sports, like bring your own equipment and have shaded space. So technically, really, this whole area is part of the family zone, you know, where people can use it, not just for picnics, but maybe as they're waiting or watching a softball game or a soccer game or lacrosse or practice. So the nice thing about this park, we have all these, we have a big, nice central open green area, but we have all these little nodes and spots around it, which are picnic areas, shade structures, areas that provide cover in case there's a sporting event and it starts to rain or lightning is present and you need to take cover and not everybody's there to like pick up their child or someone like that. There's spaces all accessible within 100 to 200 feet away where people can be safe and they can have cover. Also adjacent, we have along this multi-use pathway, we have exercise stations, we have sitting areas, but we also have a central gathering space, which is a central exercise station. This is becoming more and more popular in park design, where these outdoor exercise areas, the equipment is hydraulic. It's not just like, you know, a stump, a lump, or bars that you exercise on. There's other equipment that you could put in this space, and people from all ages, from young people to tots to moms that are near the playground, moms and dads with their kids, to seniors. A lot of the parks where we design these spaces, the seniors like going there to exercise or to meet other people that are there and exercising, and some of them don't even exercise. They just bring their cup of coffee and just talk, and they socialize. And that's what a successful park is about. It's not just going to the park to, exercise, bring your kid to the playground. It's the social connections. It's the green space connections to other municipal facilities that you have within this region, and the different inclusive events that you can include to really make this a gem of Princeton. Following around the path, and of course not last but not least, we have the new dog parks. We have 2 dog parks, one for large-sized dogs, one for smaller-sized dogs, that are sizes that are very similar, are the exact same size, actually, right, Chris? To what's there now. One's what, about an acre and a quarter? 1.2 acres for the larger park, and the other one's a little more than, what, half acre, 3/4, to a little less than an acre. And these will be all new dog parks. They're not just grass with a fence around it. The items came up where people wanted to have events, shade in the dog park, shade for the dogs, water, wash down stations, sitting areas, training areas, landscaping. We've designed a lot of dog parks lately in multiple towns. The city of Hoboken probably has about 3 or 4 dog parks that we've designed and had constructed. We just finished up a new, really state-of-the-art dog park in New York, another one in Haverstraw, New York, in Rockland County, where it's not just grass, because the grass, as you'll see over time, is hard to maintain with the use of the dogs. They're fenced in, and there's a surface that helps for drainage and a pea gravel with drainage beneath it, which will lend to a nicer surface, and it's dog friendly. And even if the entire surface isn't all of that, we could still have grass areas and other areas included within the entire dog park, along with all the other amenities for doggy fountains and bowls, waste removal stations. And even those are accommodated in a little pathway where you come off a center node, or kind of like a foyer meeting space, and into the 2 different dog parks. The smaller dog park area to the east, the larger dog park region to the west. These areas would be shaded. They would have landscaping in and around them. And again, the multi-use path encircles all the activities. We had a measured distance for the path. About 0.56 of a mile, where a lot of the parks we usually have signage like you are here, and a lot of times we either work with, right from the beginning, stations of measurement. A lot of times we work with Girl Scouts or Boy Scouts. It makes a great Eagle Scout project sometimes, where they take a sign and they do measured distances around it and markers, and the public really loves that, because they want to know their distance. Everybody wants to know how far is it for a mile, and they can count their laps and measure that. So that would all be included in the perimeter pathway, as well as the sitting areas, the green infrastructure, the stormwater management, the rain gardens, signage, connections. Again, we propose to supplement the landscape and buffer to the southern end of the park. We propose to improve the connectivity and walkways and pathways to the Witherspoon Jackson neighborhood, to the communities to the south that use this park facility a lot. And I think I know with these improvements, they would find it even more useful to have, family events, pickup games, and other events in the park. Did I leave anything out through the summary? Chris, do you want to say a few words regarding the landscape, sustainability, and how although it's a concept, we already started looking at how to incorporate the green space into the rest of the green areas of Community Park South and the adjacent municipal facilities.
Right. So, I mean, we're really just keeping what is existing, good quality, healthy, mature trees, and just supplementing that with additional shade trees, additional ornamental trees, understory plantings, just to really increase the variety of the plant material that's out there than what currently exists. You know, it's mostly just shade trees. We would be proposing to clean up a lot of the vegetation along 206, which has a lot of invasive species, clear that out, put in better native plantings. I think that, you know, pretty much encompasses it. Just keeping
I also wanted to point out that we, up by the pickleball court, there is an existing crosswalk to the parking lot, to Community Park North. We would, you know, we're not improving the crosswalk itself due to DOT right-of-way, but we would encourage more use of the parking to connect a very close proximity to the pickleball courts, and the family zone is centrally located between the existing large parking lot on the southern border and almost centrally located to the existing parking lot and the controlled intersection and light, which allows people to cross 206 safely. And we would improve, of course, that walkway connection, maybe some additional identification signage for the park at the park entrance, and of course, near the park entrance on along John Street at the southern border, just to, not that it needs any more promotion, but to promote and identify, you know, this facility as a gem of Princeton Parks and Recreation Department, as well as different signage throughout the park or a kiosk and other opportunities, you know, to incorporate all the connections and resources that are available to not just within Community Park, but to the Recreation Department, adjacent here, the open space at the school, of course, the community pool, and connections down to Witherspoon Street and restaurants, businesses that are located near there. I think I pretty much covered everything. Sorry for the long explanation, but we've been very excited about this park. I think we started it in February, moved it along. The community input and the surveys were very, very useful. I have to commend Princeton for asking to have this process for this park, because I can't tell you how many parks that we designed for counties and municipalities, and they're like, no, we want this, this, and this, and just give us a design and build it. But the most successful park you'll ever have is one that has the input from the people that are using it, and they're going to take ownership of it, respect it, and of course they're paying for it in one way or another too. So, you know, it's good that they all have a part of it. But yeah, my congratulations to your administration and the rec department for making that a priority in this whole process.
Thank you. All right. Questions, comments? We'll start up here. Nia, Leticia, and then we'll jump over to this side.
I think you've done a fantastic job. I'm really thrilled. I spent every summer, all day long, in this little swath of land for the first 18 years of my life. This, for me, is sacred. It was really important to me that you get it right. I was concerned with the other concept plans. Other than Concept A, I felt that there were real issues in terms of too many trees potentially being taken down, too much parking, not optimal, usage of the site. I think that all of that is corrected. I think this is just spectacular. You've managed to fit it all in. I'm particularly pleased that you've kept the tennis courts where they are. I attended community park school, and I feel like those tennis courts provide a buffer of safety and privacy for the children in the playground there. That's really important to continue that. I understand that I don't know anything about pickleball, but I have seen quite a few articles in the New York Times about it being loud, and so I see you've put that on the other side there. I'm sure it's not a mystery that I have a certain proclivity for dog parks, and I I think you've done a great job with the dog park, and you know, the point I've always made about dog parks is that they're more for the people than the dogs, and it's really about families and community and being together, and you've really made it possible for it to be an experience where people can come and picnic and connect with all sectors of the community together with their dogs. I love the multi-use path, which it is as an adult, my favorite part is to just walk around and watch the sunset and meet other people. I love that. I love it. I'm just really, thank you so much to everyone in the Rec Commission. I know it's not easy. Having just been through the master plan process, it's really not easy to accommodate so many specific interests and stakeholders. And I am not an easy person to please in terms, don't laugh so hard, in terms of this particular site. But I just want to let you know, I'm so pleased. It's not overly elaborate. I think it provides just the upgrade that Princeton needs. I'm a little nervous about the prices, or the you know, I had a little bit of sticker shock, but I understand from Michelle that the cost that was in the packet is really just this is
Conceptual.
Conceptual as the plan. We really don't know, and that you were giving us sort of a big picture estimate, but all of that has to be vetted. Anyway, you have my vote.
Thank you. Thank you. It was a team effort, and really, we do our jobs as landscape architects and have done this for many, many years in many, many places, you know, but this steering committee and the rec department and the rec commission, I mean, they're second to none to all the groups that I've worked on parks for 36 years. So, you know, they really put their heart and soul into every concept, every plan, and really hearing what the public and the stakeholders wanted. So really, we took the tools to put it together, but it was really their input and direction that helped us do it.
Thank you. Leticia.
I too want to thank you for a really wonderful presentation. I really like what I see, the concept that you presented. It appears to me that you have really listened to what the community input, what folks want to see, and I'm especially excited about, because I see things that I too was hoping to see, including the family zone. I'm very looking forward to seeing more details on what that's going to look like. Also, the outdoor exercise station, that's something that I have hoped to see, and I'm excited that it's something that's being considered. And I also, when you started with the presentation, you pointed out the ADA accessible ramp is something, I'm assuming you're doing it, but I just want to emphasize, I'd really like to ensure that at every step of the way, considering that all the areas are accessible, and including the playground, that the equipment itself is going to be able to be used by differently abled individuals and children. So I'm really excited to hopefully soon in the near future start working on what the details on what all is going to be included.
Yeah, no, thank you. Yeah, Evan and the Recreation Department, Evan, Joe Maroli, and the team, and all the steering committee members, every facility in this park will be accessible, you know, for individuals with physical, whatever, visual, or mental, handicaps. But, and it's not just because it's really code requirements, but it's the right thing to do, but not just being accessible, but being inclusive. You know, like, so when we design a park or a playground, it's not just one element, it's the entire environment around it to include people of all ages and physical abilities and interests, you know, so, and that's what that, like the whole park incorporates that, but introducing a family zone type of atmosphere into this and in different nodes around it is really going to be a gem to this park.
And something that I also hope to see, because, growing up, we didn't have the mobile devices or electronic devices to entertain us. I hope we get back to, with this family zone or all these areas, to get everybody outdoors.
Yeah, get people outside.
Put our phones aside, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm just finished on this side, Leighton, and then we'll jump over here and just work our way down.
Just want to say thanks for a great presentation and also a great design. I want to thank my colleague, Michelle Peron-Lambros, for inviting me to work through what I found was a very exciting and enlightening process. I want to say a couple things. I want to thank you for your patience and your flexibility in working through the process. I want to thank you for being tree sensitive. That's to everybody. Sustainability is important, and I think we came up with the right design. I want to also thank you for giving a nod to the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood, who, as you know and acknowledge, is greatly impacted. We love the fact that we are, right next to the greatest park in Princeton, but we also are impacted because of the popularity of the park, and that's even going to grow. So we thank you for giving the nod there. Last but not least, to the two young ladies who presented earlier today, I really hope in all of this that we can find and do find a great place to post your artwork along the walkways of this beautiful new park that we're going to try real hard to get done. So thank you all for your input, for your participation, your patience, your flexibility, and last but not least, for your great design. Shout outs to Andrew Kuntz, Evan, Justin, Team Rec, and again, Michelle Peron-Lambros. Good job, everybody.
Okay. David?
Thanks. I agree there's a lot to like in this plan, but I'm going to divert a little bit from the Love Fest for a minute and ask some specific questions about things I have concerns about. One is, the placement of that soccer field creates leftover space, especially on the north side, that I think is difficult to use for the kind of pickup games that you're talking about. And having coached house league soccer when my kids were little, I know that was the baby boom lit. Maybe there are not quite as many kids playing nowadays, but we used to have 10 fields of kids out there at a time. And so, if you can talk a little bit about really how much room there is on the south side of that field and whether there's any potential to shift it a little bit to concentrate more on program space. And
Yeah, we, in fact, Chris, can you put up the existing conditions? So I'm showing on the screen now the existing, I'm gonna make this bigger. The existing conditions that are out there. And there is one large existing soccer field, which is in the center. You can see the striping and the worn out grass. So there's the large existing field, and then there's 6 striped youth soccer fields adjacent to that. Those fields and that size, they overlap the 3 existing softball, baseball fields in the existing condition. So, in this layout, in your existing condition, right now you have one large multi-use rectangular field shown as striped for soccer, and you have 6 short side, we call them short side, but youth, actually no, there's not 6, they're smaller. I'm looking at them this way.
I see.
So see, they're smaller
I see like
rectangles.
11.
Yeah, they're smaller
actually.
rectangles. So that if we go back to the concept plan, these areas, those smaller fields will fit, and we didn't show it on this striping plan, but between this open space here and the outfield areas, we can fit, the same, or even if we fit another one over here, the same, or if not more, of these smaller fields that you have in your existing condition, here.
And those are primarily training areas. They're not what we would consider competitive game areas. We also, from a scheduling standpoint, don't typically overlap like baseball, softball, and soccer at the same time. They're just, that just isn't something that we do. I mean, the seasons don't tend to overlap. Soccer, the heavy use soccer time is the fall. Softball, baseball are primarily spring sports, so they don't overlap from that standpoint. And so, but there is the ability. So there is the ability to overlap those training areas with the baseball outfields, and even to some degree potentially with what is seen there on that diagram as the game field or the primary rectangular field there.
So you're saying it's not going to be striped because it's not going to be used for regulation games? People are going to put cones out at the corners or whatever?
It depends on the season. I mean, it's only striped seasonally. It's just temporary paint, field paint that wears off. It's not. We're not going to put permanent paint. Any paint that you put on grass is just temporary. We have to paint those once a week. So after a week, if you don't repaint it, it's faded, and you mow the grass and bye-bye.
So since I'm sure you've laid them out, maybe you could share the diagram that does show how the little fields would lay out on this. Just give me some comfort.
No, absolutely. We chose to show the main fields and the sports based, on the input from the stakeholder groups we met with. We could surely provide an overlay of how the other fields lay out. It starts to get not confusing, a little distracting, a little busy, and it looks like, wow, it's just a sports complex, when really Community Park has some sports field in it, but the purpose of it really isn't to be a big sports complex. It's Community Park. It serves many people of many uses, many needs. Some may never even play an organized sport in their life, and then there's others that just go there and that's what they play. But it's just as the name says, it's to serve the entire community. So we felt that, like in the rendering, after much, deliberation and input from the steering committee and the rec commission, we know it's going to fit. We know we can accommodate those needs, but in the overall master rendering, we don't want it to look cluttered. We know we can fit it and address that question when it comes up, and it did.
Yeah, to Joe's point, we purposely removed those so that we didn't want to give the impression that that's the only use for that area. It's multi-use, it's multi-purpose. Whether it's soccer, whether it's frisbee, flying a kite, whatever it may be, there's other uses for that beyond just the...
Right.
As it is now, too. People
Correct.
can go out there now, and when it's not being used for organized training or those smaller fields, there's people that are running around out there throwing a frisbee, and I haven't seen anybody flying the kites, but it hasn't been too windy all the times I'm out here, but, I'm sure it does occur.
Okay, other questions? In terms of the lighting, I can imagine fixed lighting for the baseball fields, obviously for the tennis courts, but again, fixed lighting for that center field seems problematic. Are we talking about, where are we talking about sort of portable lighting versus permanent lighting?
Well, there's the opportunity exists to light whatever we determine we want to light out there. Certainly the tennis courts have existing permanent lighting on the front 6 courts. There have been requests from other user groups to have additional lighting out there. At present, we allow the user groups to bring the portable lights, the generator lights in there for the fall, because in order to practice into the evening, they need to do that. So that would be a determination that would need to be made at the appropriate time as to whether to have some additional permanent lighting that doesn't currently exist out there, or whether we're going to continue with the portable generator lighting.
Yeah, I guess I'm just responding to the estimate, which clearly had some specific type of lighting in mind for the different fields, right?
Yeah, the lighting was listed as an alternate item because, as Evan said, it would have to be decided at some point, do you want permanent lighting? And that estimate was to include, was the cost to construct permanent sports lighting for those fields. Now, it was a request from some of the sports groups to provide that, but obviously it comes at a significant cost monetarily. It also comes at a cost aesthetically and visually. If you were to provide sports lighting on the fields, whether individually or as an overall on the limit, to light these facilities for sports lighting standards, we require a lot of poles. And they're not 20, 25-foot high poles. They're 70, 60, 70, 80, 90 foot. I mean, I've done professional fields, minor league stadiums. I'm redoing stuff for colleges and universities all the time, lighting. And they serve the purpose, but again, those are typically sports complexes. So at some point, we included it in the estimate, we looked into it, but at some point, beyond this phase, the municipality would have to decide, do you want this to have the sports lighting? Not just for the cost, but also visually, aesthetically. Hey, I love sports. I've played sports and coached my entire life. But when you have a certain space that has a certain feel, even in my hometown where I've designed new parks and sports facilities, I said, no, this isn't the right facility to put lighting on it.
Right.
You know, we have to put it somewhere else or make up for it somewhere else. But, you know, but that's not my decision for Princeton, you know, that.
Yeah,
when that
thanks,
time
thanks
comes,
for
God
fleshing
will.
out that issue for us, because
Yeah.
that wasn't apparent from, you know, what you presented, and I think that is an important
We also propose-
consideration for us to deliberate about.
What I do think you should definitely consider is lantern-type lighting around the perimeter path. Like, even not light this thing up like, you know, city
Security
street,
lighting.
Pedestrian
but
level lighting.
security,
Sure.
lower level lighting, it gets shut off at a certain time, but it creates a nice ambiance to the park. It creates security, a safer feeling, and like give it a nice kind of Central Park ambiance, a nice feel that people, even if you're not using the park, if it is closed at dusk, but visually, when you ride by it and you see it, you know it's secured, it's safe. Law enforcement likes it too, if they have to take a spin around the park, or they could see if someone's in the park or doing something they shouldn't be doing. Even the shade structures, even if no one's using it at night, we design them. We have lights up in the top that shine down, so a low cast that you could see. Is somebody in there? What's going on? Just for security, and it creates a nice look and an ambiance in the entire park.
Great. The last thing I just wanted to comment, I really appreciated your discussion of the path that goes off towards the parking lot that's in front of the swimming pool, because I hadn't really thought about the fact, but you know, that's a great way to create the kind of flexibility of having additional parking available, both, you know, at CP North, but also in the municipal lot for times when the lot that's what they call the tennis court lot is full. But I also, I know that Andrew is aware of this. This is something that's been a dream of the bicycling community for Safe Routes to School. You know, essentially every high school and middle school age kid who lives on the western section, and when I say western section, I mean the whole western half of town, has access to ride to either the high school or the middle school right through here, if we can make that connection to the Geo path. And so it's great that this has that double use, both the connection to that front parking lot, but also a connection then on across Witherspoon Street. And, you know, we need to get our act together to be talking with the schools about how to accomplish that. But I think it's really important.
Yeah, pedestrian circulation, connectivity, you know, to walkways, trails, and that's what we all have to do. People have to drive less, walk more, bike more, scooter more, skateboard more, whatever is your preferred method of transportation besides getting behind the wheel of a car. You know, that all adds to the community feel of a space and the park. Oh yeah, I did forget. There will be bicycle racks located throughout the park, near sitting areas, etc.
And let me just say, I think the way that it's rendered right now, that path might be a little bit narrow. You know, if it really is a multi-use path for bicyclists getting over to the schools, as well as pedestrians getting back and forth that parking area. So it looks like it's shown at about 5 feet wide. I think it should be thought about more like an 8 to 10 foot wide.
Yeah, what do we have, a 10, 12 foot, right?
Well, the main
perimeter path
is 12 feet, but then some of the secondary path
6. Yeah, and yeah, certainly can make them
That one in
wider.
particular, I think, well, a lot of them are fine at 5, 6 feet, but I think that one don't want to be a little wider.
Sure. Thank you. Eve?
Thank you. I've learned some things tonight. I loved your discussion about lighting, and also I found the discussion about the proper angle to site the softball field with, given safety, batter safety, to be really interesting. So thank you for that. And I really appreciate your emphasis on that this is a community park. It is not, sports is an essential part, but it is a community park. So really appreciate that and agree with many of the other things that have been said. I have a few things that I wanted to bring up, somewhere between questions and comments. In terms of sustainability, I know that this is more expensive, but I wonder if we could consider for the walking, biking path, permeable pavement. I know, the park as it is now has water issues. I see a lot, I'm not an engineer, but I see a lot of money dedicated in the cost to grading and earthwork, to landscaping, green infrastructure, irrigation, et cetera. A lot of different areas that are clearly intended to address some of the water issues and other issues in the park, and love the rain gardens and those elements as well. But wherever we have the choice, if it's not financially irresponsible to use a permeable pavement or other types of of engineering that are climate issues are only going to get worse, and the things that today we feel like we've never seen before in 20 or 30 years are going to be routine, and the worst is going to be so much worse than we can imagine unless there's a big change. So, do you, in addition to permeable pavement, are there other things that were considered or other ideas that you have to make the park more, again, like, we want it to be usable. If it's usable, it has to be reasonably dry. Were there other ideas maybe that are not in what you discussed tonight or that were considered that, I think you know what I'm asking, thanks.
When we really get into it, this is, the scope of the work is to prepare the concept of what would be included and where to locate it. The details of how each thing works, absolutely. We use permeable pavements, permeable concrete, permeable pavers all the time. We use, of course, we have to meet the stormwater management rules, and your municipal engineer, Deanna Stockton, was very vocal in this whole process and say, hey, we know this is a concept plan right now, but we know we're going to have to address stormwater management, meet the stormwater management rules of the municipality, just like this was any other development. And there are ways to definitely accommodate that. First thing is, and that's beyond our phase of a concept plan right now, would be to get out there once you move to the next phase, whether you do this in multiple phases, which I'm assuming might be more realistic than just doing this all at once, but getting infiltration testing done, see what the infiltration rates are of the soils, and it's going to vary in different locations of this park, how we can utilize that to our benefit, to meet stormwater management as well. And it's not just the pavements and rain, but there's other things that we do in parks to help sustainability. We could make every one of these structures, we could put green roofs on them. We could put in solar. We could have solar charging stations along sitting areas or on canopies of stuff. We can do a lot of things to help improve the sustainability. Obviously, reduce flooding and impact. The good thing about the concepts, and it has a lot of improvements, but we're really not, other than adding the pickleball courts, and we're taking away, or we're going down to 12 tennis instead of 15, we're not adding an enormous amount of new impervious space. You know, we're not adding a big parking lot. We're not adding a huge building or structure. Yeah, we're still adding some impervious cover, but knowing of all the options that we can do to meet stormwater requirements, and again, that has to get determined by engineers in the next phase of preliminary and final design and stormwater calcs for the entire site. There are many things that could be done. I mean, we've worked on other projects in different cities where the entire park is over stormwater holding, stormwater management. City of Hoboken, a lot of parks, you look up their parks. We worked on Southwest Resiliency Park. They just built a large Northwest Resiliency Park, which I forget, like if it's 500,000 or 1 million gallons of water that are stored under the park. And then it's bleeded out slowly later, and it helps for their combined sewer and their stormwater management flows. But it all depends when you get into the engineering of the site. That's, I have experience in it, but that's a little bit above my expertise because I'm not a licensed engineer. So I leave that up to the experts.
Thanks. So I'll just put in a pitch to Evan, Andrew, the rest of the Rec Commission, engineering, when we get to that point to, you know, I know that we are always thinking about resiliency and sustainability, but again, we want a facility that's going to be usable 10, 20, 30 years in the future. I know you said that you don't feel like you're adding a lot of buildings to the park, but I guess I have some concerns about that. Like, do we need 2 large pavilions, both with bathrooms? Similarly, with the dog park, we've been able to have a dog park on the relative cheap by not including things like potable water and, you know, the dog. So I guess, you know, we're going to have to weigh as we move forward the comfort of both the dogs and the people. With you know, the costs that are involved, and I think that's true with some of the facilities, you know, concession stands, since we are in an area where there are restaurants not that far away, you know, little concerned about that, because a more vibrant park with more activities there could also lead to a demand for, you know, private you know, more private businesses where that could service the park in some way, or even a food truck once we get that food truck licensing figured out.
Those are all just possibilities,
Yeah.
but certainly not certainties, and we
Yeah.
can, at the right time, work through all those details to pull some things out or expand on other areas. Yeah.
Again, we
Excellent.
were addressing the requests of things that people wanted in the dog parks: shade, structure, protection, water, bowls. You know, of course, the fence there are conceptual, mostly there for a shade, structure, and canopy. The building part of it is like small restroom type of thing. And of course, they could be scaled back, scaled down, or scaled out and eliminated as a municipality sees fit and budgets allow.
Yeah, and I just want to say, just again, a thank you to Evan, to Andrew, to other members of the Rec Commission, and to also really including a tremendous amount of flexibility in this plan, which I think is really essential. As I know right now, the sense in town is that we don't have enough playing fields, and maybe that'll still be true in 10 or 15 or 20 years. On the other hand, you know, the country is sort of undergoing a demographic change in which most people are having fewer children. So I think just a request to keep that in mind as we move forward, that you know, hopefully it won't be 60 years before we revisit the park. So in 20 years, if it looks different, to keep in mind that we may be looking at addressing different uses going forward. And thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle? No, you go ahead. I'll wait.
So I just, you know, just to recap, I mean, this is a gem. I mean, this is our main park in town, and it's walkable, it's bikeable, and I see a big change just having the dog park addition in a temporary, it in the great detail that you did. It really just tweaks the imagination to think of all the things that we can do at the park, with the park, and pulling the community together. So I'm really thrilled to be participating in this evening. Thank you.
Thanks, Michelle. All right, we've all heard each other. Did anybody have any additional questions or thoughts that came up? Yeah.
I had a couple of questions of lighting, but I also want to say, again, thank you to the Rec Commission. I know that you are under a lot of pressure from the community to provide additional competitive playing space for rec fields. Bye.
Good night.
Thank you. And I know that is a concern. I also know that the community was very concerned that this would end up being just a competitive, a space for competitive sports. And there was real concern in the neighborhood, in the Witherspoon-Jackson neighborhood, that this be maintained as with that flexibility for open space. And I think you really got it right. I do like the position of the playing field. I think it makes it so that it's not the dominant feature and still gives the local neighborhoods the feeling that this is their community open space. So bravo on that. And so in terms of the lights, I also know, I heard a lot from the neighborhood that there was concern about, the number one concern that I heard expressed was that there would be sports lighting all the time, tall lights, too many lights. So I think you got that right as well. The flip side to that, though, is, and it's interesting because someone just yesterday that I saw in the park there said, well, we're not going to have those horrible, smelly lights anymore, are we? And I said, I'm sure we're not. So I'm just wondering, is there something else other than permanent large fixtures and these really smelly lights that
I think there are other lighting options out there, because right now they're using rental, right? Are they using like rental, industrial, like commercial
those are
lights?
rental units.
And I'm not all that familiar. I mean, we work with 2 or 3 specialty sports lighting companies. I could find out from them. I'm only assuming that, like, given how we're changing the way we use energy, that, and I'm sure there's some out there, I just haven't seen them or even looked for them yet, but I'm glad you brought it up. There's got to be some of these lights that are battery powered or some other source of energy other than a generator. What are they using, gas or diesel? Gas generator.
Diesel.
Yeah, I'm sure
It's
diesel. So, yeah,
and
diesel
and
in
I
itself.
actually think it's dangerous for the kids to be breathing those fumes while they're playing. You can smell it for a very wide swath. So I would just, implore you to help us to find there must be some other options.
There's got to be something out there, we just haven't even looked for it yet. Right?
I mean,
That's a great idea. I think
I would suggest
my
rather
next
than
business.
battery operated, that if you put outlets out there, just outdoor outlets, there've got to be portable lights that you can plug in instead of having a generator.
Yeah,
So-
they're a higher voltage. Tom.
Yeah, so we're okay.
Yeah, okay, so
We are way past
yeah.
concept now, and it's like,
Okay, we just wanna
is third base
yeah.
3x3 white, or is it off-white, or is it tan?
All right,
So
just 2 more things. One, to be able to continue to walk around that path once it gets dark and the lights from the tennis courts go out, I think is essential, especially in winter when people want to exercise and there aren't necessarily places where people feel safe. But once it gets dark, you can't circumlocute here. I know there are low-level lights that just allow you to see the path and don't, so I think that's essential. Finally, one more research project. There are a number of dog parks around the country in which they are more on the West Coast, but, Princeton is often innovative, so let's look into that as well.
It's a dog waste power
Yeah,
station.
it's a biofuel.
It's a biofuel.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay. Leighton?
Mayor, just one more thing that also might be helpful, like the university has, maybe at different intervals around the walkway, a little blue box, just in case you do get in some trouble, you can hit a button and call somebody.
Yeah, box security system like the universities have.
Yes.
You know, we used to call them, there were people where I went to school, they had the little boxes, blue lights or green light. We used to call them the Green Lantern people. They had like green jackets and the lights were green. And you knew on campus if something was going on, or like pick up the phone and a Green Lantern volunteer would be there.
Okay.
It wasn't in Princeton, but
Yeah.
elsewhere.
Evan, I'll hold all my questions and thoughts because mine are much more detailed and beyond concept. So at some point I'll bother you, but we don't need to go into them tonight. But Evan and Bernie, what do you need tonight from us? What is the next step? And do you need us just to say,
I know that I don't want to speak for the Rec Commission, but I know that they were looking for some type of confirmation from the council of acceptance of this concept and ability to move forward with the next steps, which ultimately would be to put this out for proposals. Is that correct, Deanna? Correct. Proposals for design. That would be the next step. And so separately, we would be working with, through the budget process to make sure we have enough in the requested budget for 2024 to cover estimates for what we think that design component would be for the project.
okay. So just make sure everybody, if we nod or raise a hand or wave, that we're saying, hey, we're comfortable with some design work getting done. And then there'll be hopefully some give and take on exactly what the details are as to whether it's one phase, multi-phases, is everything left, is some things, there could be a
Yeah,
whole
all those, we would
menu
work
of
through all that.
Keep, don't keep, whatever, but.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would just say this is about as enthusiastic as it gets from this council, so you can.
I see a lot of
take that.
smiles up there. I take that as a good sign. Thank you all for, this was
thank
great.
you.
Appreciate
Thank
the
you all.
opportunity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thanks for this opportunity to present to
Okay.
everybody. Pleasure
Yep.
of ours. Thank
Well
you.
done, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that was good. All right, we have two ordinances to introduce. Ordinance 2023-38, an ordinance of the Mayor and Council of Princeton concerning salaries and compensation of certain personnel of the municipality of Princeton. The public hearing will be on December 18th. Would someone like to move that? Thank you, Leticia. Would someone like to second that? Thank you, Michelle. It's a roll call vote.
Ms.
Yeah.
Barone Lambros?
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Sachs?
Ms. Sachs?
I'm sorry, I was interrupting her. I was talking to her, my bad.
Yes.
Ms. Fraga?
Yes.
Mr. Newland?
Yes.
Carried.
Thank you very much. Ordinance 2023-39, an ordinance by the municipality of Princeton regarding the Princeton Fire Department and amending Chapter 8 of the Code of the Township of Princeton, New Jersey, 1968, and Chapter 14 of the Code of the Borough of Princeton, New Jersey, 1974. Public hearing on December 18th, 2023. Is there a motion on that? Thank you, Michelle. Layton's got the second. Roll call vote.
Ms. Barone Lambros?
Yes.
Ms. Niedergang?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Ms. Sachs?
Yes.
Ms. Fraga?
Yes.
Mr. Newland?
Yes.
Carried.
Okay, I'm just taking over momentarily. So resolutions, 23-369, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing an increase of $128,570 to the not-to-exceed amount for the professional services agreement with Arcadis US Inc. for the Hamilton Avenue sanitary sewer replacement engineering design and bid phase services for a new not-to-exceed amount of $356,570. Do I have a motion? Eve, second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, the second was Layton. Resolution 23-370, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing change order number 2 and final in the amount of $5,358 for the 2021 traffic striping and pavement marking contract 2021 striping change order, resulting in a final contract amount of $98,850 and releasing the performance bond. Do I have a motion? David? Michelle has a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Resolution 23-371, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing release of a maintenance guarantee in the amount of $3,024 to the Chabad Lubavitch of Mercer County for 645 State Road, Block 27.01 and Lot 3. Do I have a motion? Are you recusing?
Yeah, I'm recusing.
Okay, David is recused. Eve, motion to approve. Second is Michelle. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Resolution 23-372, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing release of a performance guarantee in the amount of $61,243 to the Princeton Community Village Associates LP, Bunn Drive, Block 4401, and Lot 2. Do I have a motion to approve? Michelle has the motion. Eve has the second. All in favor?
Aye.
373, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing release of a performance guarantee in the amount of $28,400 to Krishna Bhagavatula for the project known as 58 White Oak Lane. Do I have a motion to approve? Leighton? Have a second? David has the second. I know, I can't.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Resolution 23-374, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing release of a performance guarantee in the amount of $99,200 to the Landwin Development Corporation for Pretty Book 85, preliminary and final subdivision and site plan, section 2.04, lot 92.01. Do I have a motion to approve? Michelle has the motion. David has the second. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. And I am handing back to Mark, who can see the screen better than I can.
Yeah, sorry it took so long. There was a traffic jam in the hallway. Anyway, 23-375, resolution of the Mayor and Council of Princeton authorizing 14 Clearview Avenue lease extension. Thank you, Eve.
No.
Leticia's got the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, next up is the consent agenda. If no one wants to pull anything out of the consent agenda, someone could move in the consent agenda, Eve?
And
Or do-
I pulled 23-378. I have a question.
Okay,
About
sure.
that.
So let's, 23-378, a resolution authorizing a refund of a tax payment for BL-9.01 LT-24.02 for 2022, $6,743.76, in 2023, $12,814.76. Can we just get a motion and a second so we can just discuss that? Okay, Leticia's got the motion, David's got the second. Questions, Eve?
So my question, I don't know if I didn't get a chance to ask someone in finance about this, but it says this is refunding money for a fictitious sale. And I'm wondering if this, I've never heard of this before, maybe it happens more often, but I'm wondering if there's anything we need to warn our residents about so that this doesn't happen more often? Can anyone speak to anything about that, or?
I don't know if it's that, but I know recently we did have a fictitious sale where someone who was not at a property, somebody came in and listed that property, actually sold that property, and they were not the owner of that property. So it does happen, it did happen. I don't know
Identity
if this
theft
is
kind of
that.
thing, yeah. An identity theft situation.
I guess, I mean, they listed it, I believe, with an agent as well, and it
Yeah, so you
sold,
think, you would
so-
think between the real estate agent and the title company, somebody somewhere along the line would have figured out G. Mark Frieda does not own David Cohen's house and can't sell it.
And actually, from what I saw, it looked like it was being sold as an empty lot.
It was an empty,
It's
it's
an empty
probably
lot,
it then, it was an
yeah.
empty, an undeveloped lot that sold.
Yeah.
So, do you don't have, do you have any concern about, is this like, could potentially be a growing trend that, and I don't know how people could protect their property or themselves, or we'll cross that path when we get there.
Yeah, I don't know that there's any, as a general rule, I don't,
Okay.
this probably
Well,
shouldn't happen, and
I
I
think it's the-
imagine there would be litigation around it, but,
I think it's pretty rare for us.
yeah, I mean, I've read about it happening in other places as
Okay.
well. I mean, people are always going to scam when they
If
can,
it is identity theft, I mean, people should be educated about, there are a lot of things you can do to protect yourself against
Yeah.
identity theft, just
Yeah.
both taking precautions with, securing your data, but also checking your credit reports and stuff like that to see if
Wow.
any unauthorized activity is
If-
going on, so.
And using a in-state title company. They used an overseas title company, apparently.
If-
Yeah, I mean, because the title company is really responsible for that, but there's no legal recourse, so it's a
I was
big
going to add that
cautionary tale.
I would think the realtor should have done their homework. It was a realtor that, this
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, well, that was fascinating, so I just wanted to
and I
know more
believe the
about
money
it.
was
Thank
wired
you.
overseas as well, as part of the closing, so.
Okay.
Moving
All
on.
right, thank you all.
Any other questions on that one? Okay, if not, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay, are we all right with the two other items remaining in the consent agenda? And if so, would someone move the consent agenda? Thank you, Eve. David's got the second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. David, do you have a motion?
I would move that we adjourn.
Is there a second? Thank you, Leighton. All in favor, say aye.
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 We're done. Thank you. Have a great evening.
Let's get out of here right now.
Recording in progress. Recording stopped.
Way to go, Adam.